Hiya, it's Ftrhstry. I'm Kingdangerously, coming to you from the time vortex of the 2120s to talk about the 2020s. This is an important one. Desalination. Ocean desalination. Can it end world drought and end world thirst and make places greener and wetter? And yes, it absolutely can. And so we're going to talk about this loads, but I'm going to start with a general big picture overview. Earth has lots of water. That's the real top line here. Like billions and billions of gallons of water, like 366 billion gallons of water, which means every human on Earth, theoretically, is entitled to 50 billion gallons of water. You personally have 50 billion gallons of water waiting out there for you. What are you doing? Why are you not swimming in it right now? Get off the YouTube. No, wait, stay, just but like for 6 more minutes. The rest of the water is all in ice or underground reservoirs. That's not very accessible. We only have access to 1% of the drinkable water. And the 96% of it in the ocean is tricky to get at. But luckily, desalination is a thing that exists. It's already widely in use around the world. 16,000 desalination plants are active today, right now, and they're getting about 27 billion gallons of water out of the ocean into people's bellies on a daily basis. That's enough for everyone in America to have their regular water needs met. Now, those regular water needs in America are about 100 gallons of water per day, per person. That's a lot less in some other places like Israel, Palestine. It's like half that. So we could get it down with better efficiency. But in America, you know, that's sort of a gold standard. People enjoy the amount of water they have. They have enough. Celebrities carry gallons of water around and they just throw it on each other to make a splash on social media. We've got enough water, right? So the punchline of that is that it's actually really cheap. People talk about desalination as if it's super expensive, and that's like the main reason we don't do it. But the entire cost for 1 day's worth of American water, which is 100 gallons, remember, per person, for all the washing and cooking and drinking and just splashing around, is about an hour of electricity for one house. About an hour of an average house energy usage could create enough water from the ocean for a person to have 100 gallons a day, right? So 1 hour of electricity usage for the whole month, that adds up to about the cost of a large coffee, right? So just keep that in mind when people say desalination's so expensive, like, oh, the energy, oh, it's so difficult. Why? All right, let's talk about the 2 main ways we do it. I'm so excited. That's why I'm yelling with speed. I'm time yelling at you, but this matters, and I hope you see why, because it would just make the world so much better if this were easier. The 2 main ways we do it right now are thermal and pressure. So we either push the water through a membrane and squeeze all the salties out. That's the main way we do it, like 70% of desalination in the 2020s. And then thermal, which is like you heat the water, the steam does not take the salt, and then you cool the steam, becomes drinkable water. Those are the 2 main ways. And it used to be that the thermal way was the main way. It's gotten overtaken by the pressure. There are a couple other ways now. There's like one called temperature swing solvent, where you put in like another little rocky thing and it soaks up most of the water at one temperature, but not the salt. And then you separate out the salt and heat it back up and it releases the water. That's good for some agricultural purposes, not great for drinking water just now. Again, that's called temperature swing solvent extraction. That's sort of an emerging technology, along with some laser stuff and some metal stuff. That's going to be sort of down the line, the kind of thing we're going to keep talking about while we keep talking about this. The big point, the driving point to make here, is that desalination is actually one of those places where we don't need super duper future tech to make it better. What we need is administrative and economic tech. And that's stuff we can work out. Administrative, because we've got to get the water from the ocean to people's houses so they can cook with it and bathe with it and fill their squirt guns. And that involves pipelines. At the end of the day, pipelines have to go across multiple properties. There's a reason that most infrastructure was developed like 100 years ago or multiple 100 years ago in many developed nations, and they just don't build very much of it anymore because it's hard to get permission from all the different landowners along the way to move stuff. So tunnels will end up being super useful in this regard. The other thing is, it's just not that economically attractive. It's not like the most exciting thing to sell fairly cheap water for like a month's worth, at the price of a coffee to developing nations, people who don't have a ton of resources, and maybe the governments are struggling in an organizational capacity, maybe there's social unrest, makes it all pretty complicated. So a lot of the reason behind almost half the world in the next few decades suffering water scarcity are administrative and economic. They're not technological. Now, that said, cheaper forms of energy production like fusion and space solar are going to dramatically bring down the cost because they'll just make energy more available. So that's going to make it an easier sell, a bit more appealing, easier to spread. And that's what we're going to see kick in like the 30s and the 40s. And by the 50s, the world's going to be very frustrated that there's so much drought. Desertification is actually expanding in large parts of the world, like the Serengeti's getting bigger, Australia's deserts are expanding, in the American Southwest, which is by far the busiest and most growing part of America, the desertification is awful. Like in Las Vegas, they're going to run out of water in the 2040s. So by then they'll be thinking, oh gosh, we should have hired some tunnel drillers to get the ocean water to our city. And that becomes basically a huge imperative in the 40s and the 50s and the 60s, at which point people are thinking, oh yeah, we should also do this for forests, right? Why would you not just snake some little hoses through the trees, stop them all burning down every year, right? Right. If you look at a map of the world, a lot of it is desert. We can do better than that. Now, there are dangers that come with that because bugs, are a thing. Malaria kills 400 million people. That can't be right. It's got to be 400,000. It's a lot of people. I forget, the 2020s was so long ago. And the top line from my end of the time spectrum is that this is a solved problem in the 2120s. Happily, we just got this one. Like, we have done it. We can do it. You can do it. And we have done it. And that's really what I'm hoping that I can encourage you to take away from this time capsule back from the future, which is just to learn about this stuff, research desalination, talk to your local government, see if you can contribute to the evolution of the technological and economic and administrative engines that are going to help bring water to the places in the world that really need it. I know you can do this. I know the ocean is there waiting for us. I know it all works out because I'm from the future and it's great here. But the guy that I'm based on, like the biological substrate that gives birth to this cheeky algorithm from the far happy future, he's going to spend the rest of his life working on it. Kingdangerously Prime is going to spend the rest of his life working at least a little bit every day on desalination, and he hopes that you will too. Hope you're getting wet now. I gave you 6 minutes. You hung in for even longer than that. Go just splash some water on your face. Think about how great it is that you have access to that water, and open your heart and mind to a vector on which you can help deliver that water to other people in the world, and people you'll never meet who live in times beyond the one we populate today. All right, thank you. That was a very exciting ride. Just the beginning of a huge topic. Hope you had fun. I certainly did. Let's desalinate the ocean. Bye.